I would say the themes of Second Chance are, of course, healing is a theme, one of the primary themes. Another theme that might be the secondary theme is unlikely friendships, because, Nia, being from her class and her generation, and, urbanness, makes friends with these two very, very unlikely strangers, one who is so much older than her, one is so much younger, and, they come from different worlds. So, unlikely friendships is another theme. And the third theme for me is our relationship with Mother Nature. And I was very kind of keen to tell a story about this, or it found its way into my story probably because I feel very strongly about it myself. I feel like, nowadays more and more we are taking, we take our environment and Mother Nature for
Yeah.
granted. And I feel like it's high time we stop doing that. And genuinely, it's, I mean, nature plays a huge role in can play a huge role in healing a broken soul, as it does for Nia. I don't, as far as I know, in Indian films, regional or Hindi, whatever, we haven't really seen the portrayal of say a terminated pregnancy
Yeah.
in this manner, right?
Yeah. So
Hmm.
why was it important to why was it important to portray in a very true manner? And you could have not portrayed it, but you chose to. So can you speak to me about those decisions also?
I think it came from the fact that, when we're tackling an issue like a terminated pregnancy and abortion, and I mean, I began out by wanting to that it's already done and the job is neatly done by a pill, because, we're thankfully living in times where we don't have to do where surgery is not really required, surgical intention, you can handle it with a pill. But the thing is, the convenience of that, the so-called convenience of that, is actually not a convenience, because the havoc that of that pill wreaks within a woman's system is what, I mean, is really, really horrible. And it's
Yeah.
I mean, it can't be taken very lightly, which it is, in a lot of cases, because it's like, oh, you just pop a pill and it's done. It's not done. And I
Yeah.
felt like at this point, a lot of times the pills have after effects and they don't work, or they have belated effects, like what happens in the sensor in the case of Nia. Also, of course, because of the fact that unlike in US and other countries, abortions are fully legal in India. We have a very, very forward abortion law. But because
Yeah.
of our huge patriarchal and, gendered society, it's considered a major taboo. So again, it's something that's not really spoken about. So I felt like a graphic representation of what a woman has to go through, and even just with a pill, and what can happen in the aftermath of that pill.
Yeah.
It's important for everybody to see and understand that this is not something that can just be brushed under the table or taken very lightly.
Yeah.
I felt like that shock was kind of needed.
Hi, Subadhra. Welcome to Cinema Express. Congratulations on your debut feature. So I have to ask, how that seeing your debut feature in playing in theaters on the big screen?
Honestly, it's a feeling of disbelief in a happy way, not in a bad way, in a very, 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 I'm very, very grateful for this opportunity. And I say disbelief because, as independent filmmakers, we struggle at every level so much while we're scripting, we're mounting our projects, putting our teams together with hardly any resources, shooting against all the odds, in less time with less resources at our demand, and very, very
Yeah.
tight crews. And then usually during post we run out of money and somehow manage to finish the film, take loans from here and there, beg, borrow, steal, and somehow con some people into becoming co-producers on your film. And then the festival journey begins, which is its own ball
Yeah.
game. I mean, there's so many good films out there, but it's so much a matter of luck and being in the right time and the right place, and what might be
Yeah.
the agenda of the particular festival, what other films are, being submitted that year. There's so much to it. And then, I mean, I was always told for theatrical that, a film like this will never see a theatrical release in India. You might see one in, certain cinema crazy countries of Asia or Europe for that matter, who appreciate art house cinema, but not here. So,
I'm
I mean,
surprised India is not termed as a cinema crazy country.
I guess it's termed as a cinema in the sense your mainstream,
Yeah,
uh, whether it's Bollywood here or in the South, of course, Tollywood and all of that. But uh, I guess it's not known for to really, really respect its more artistic, uh, independent films. And
yeah,
yes, so I was always told that it would never be possible, but hats off to Shiladitya Bora and Platoon One Films for taking on the challenge of, like, on a very shoestring budget again, marketing a film and releasing it in five different cities. It's
yeah.
really a dream come true. It's really a dream come true.
I'm very happy to hear that. I think hearing you talking about just a short version of how the film was made and the journey in the festivals reminds me of a line from the film itself. It's easier to climb the mountain to reach on top instead of taking shortcuts to it. But uh, congratulations on making it this far and releasing it in theaters. Going into the film, uh,
Hmm.
obviously it seems like it's a very personal endeavor for you because
Hmm.
you're making it this as an independent film, but even the story in itself seems to come from a very personal space. So I want to start with by asking you, uh, there was a tribute you gave at the starting to the Devtas and Devis of Kullu and Lahore. I thought that was very interesting because set it is set in a place where all these devtas are associated with nature in itself. So, can you tell me a little bit about your personal experiences with those devatas and how it influenced the movie?
Yeah, I thank you. I like this question a lot. Mm, and it's not often asked, but I'd like to speak
Thank you,
about it.
thank you.
So I'm born and raised in Himachal Pradesh, in different places within Himachal Pradesh, and so I know the Kullu Valley very well, which is where the film is set and
Right,
shot. And anybody who knows anything, even if you've just visited Kullu once, you'll know that it still has a very, very heavy belief in its original ancient systems of worship, which predate Aryan Hinduism. And
right,
the Devis and Devtas who have their little shrines and temples in different villages and in different areas. They are very, very all powerful. And
right,
I mean, I say that in the sense that the local villagers um, kind of believe in them very strongly. So for any small or big thing, whether it's a big thing like a marriage in the family, or if it's very
right.
small, like, should I sell my cow or not? Like they go to the Devi and Devta and they
Yeah.
ask for permission,
Wow.
or they ask,
Okay. Should I select how or not? Okay, that's
yeah,
fair enough.
small things, big things also. So, because I myself am I am a local, and all my actors were local. So
Mm,
before the shoot started, we made sure that we kind of give offerings to our main Devis and Devtas over there.
okay.
And offerings means you go to the shrine and you there are a few set offerings like a chadar and maybe a coconut and few other bunch of things, some mithai and all of that.
Yeah.
Because see, according to them, particular areas are ruled by particular gods of nature. For example, the main house where we shot, it has a prevalence of a Nag Devta, very, very important, Basuki Nag, who has 18 sons in different parts of the valley. So
Oh,
Basuki Nag
okay.
is very important for us. Then, because it's
Okay.
a very feminist film, this the main mother deity of this valley is Hidimba Mata, who has a temple in pretty much in main Manali. So she was another goddess I went to for blessings because it is a very feminine film, as you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, so and it was a very, very tough shoot, Ashwin. It was in the dead of winter. We had a very small crew, and we were on a shoestring budget, and there were a lot of hurdles that came our way, but somehow we managed to surpass them all and may finish the shooting of the film against all the odds. So I really feel like the gods and the goddesses of the mountains were on our side.
I wanted to ask you about Nia's journey in particular, because you had described this as a very personal endeavor. Some parts of it which you've encountered, and some parts of it which you have experienced. And I wanted to ask about, it's a two-part question. So one is, why represent a journey of acceptance as a black and white film? The other is, could you tell me more about the decision of making a black and white film to show such a deep emotional journey?
Yeah. So, actually, the choice of black and white is very, very deeply rooted with the story for me and the philosophy, with the journey of the protagonist, as well as with the philosophy behind the film. To speak about the journey of the protagonist, Nia, it's finding light at the end of a very long and dark tunnel. And I
Yeah,
felt like this would be well expressed in black and white. And the philosophy, which kind of forms the backbone of this film, it's finding light in darkness, finding darkness in light, and kind of accepting that life is nothing more than an interplay between these two, and making your peace with it and having to move on. It's a very Eastern philosophy, kind of like represented by the yin and yang. So I felt it would
right,
be well told in this black and white Himalayan world, the
right,
yin and yang Himalayan world, maybe.
yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, I also noticed that uh, apart from the very conventional black and white film, the cinematography in this had a much stark contrast between the black and white. Usually, when black and white films are made, sometimes
yeah,
you see the darkness within the light, and the camera has been set up that way, and the lighting has been set up that way. But here, you can very distinctly see the difference between the light and the dark. Was this a
yeah.
conscious choice?
It was a conscious choice. Me and the cinematographer, Swapnil Sonavne, who's actually done his training in Chennai in, the Mindscreen
Ah,
Institute. Yeah, yeah. So
wow,
he's an institutionalist from Chennai, Chennai's Mindscreen Institute. So we had a lot of discussions and we decided from very early on, we decided that it's going to be a high contrast black and white because that's very natural to the environment at that
yeah,
time. Except for when it's actually snowing and it's hazy, that's a different issue. But otherwise, the winters have a lot of really, really clear days, which are, crystal clear with very strong, harsh kind of sunlight. And
yeah,
the skies are so brilliant blue that they translate as a kind of a dark gray on screen, and the snow peaks are white, and the
yeah,
branches of the apple trees are bare, and they translate as black because they're dark brown. So it just
yeah.
looked like visually amazing, and we decided to kind of stick to that.
That's that's good to hear, and I was glad that I was able to see such contrast, because I guess at certain very key points in the story, we were really able to see why such decisions were made. And moving on, cinema is usually a place for the senses. You see such striking imagery, but you also have some treat for your ears. There are sound designs and there are music in it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
coming to Second Chance in particular, sound design has been used as a storytelling technique in itself. There were certain moments where the character had to spin on their emotions, and the background was, uh, I wouldn't say muted, but it was dimmed down so that she
yeah.
can focus on breathing and herself. But there was a switch that happened which took her back to the surroundings. And there were certain other sound design techniques which were also used. So could you speak about that?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you've noticed that. And obviously, you watched the film with a good sound system, with the headphones or something. So I'm glad that you picked that up. And it's
Thank
also a
you.
reason that I encourage people to go and watch it in the cinemas because with the 5.1 or the Dolby, you get a really good sense of the heavy sound design which has been done in the film. By heavy, I mean intricate, very, very designed with a lot of thought sound design.
Yeah,
And it really immerses you into the journey of the protagonist. So, like you rightly said, like, what we did was that moments that in the beginning of the film, she's very in a very dark and depressed place and she's very
yeah,
into herself and into her crisis. So that's when we would try to shut out the sounds of the outside world, which were mostly nature. And then slowly she started to open up, and then
okay,
those walls would slowly break down even audibly as they would in the
yeah,
relationship. And then at times she would be jolted out of as far as Sunny is concerned, the
yeah,
small boy Sunny, he would jolt her out of her inner kind of world, which was very, very dark and disturbed at that time. So, like for example, the first time that they meet, he he disturbs her by catapulting some pebbles near her into a tree. And that's when from her the inner hum of her world, which is just brooding within herself and what she's gone through and how she's feeling about it, that snaps, and suddenly you can
yeah.
hear the out, and you see Sunny, running in and doing his Superman act and all of that. Yeah.
Sound design being one part of the audio treat, the other being music.
Hmm.
And instead of using it as something that goes with her on her journey through that very dark tunnel to find the light, it has, I think, been used as a transformative piece at certain junctures where
Hmm.
she's turning to another direction and then she's turning to a direction and then
Hmm.
so on and so on until she finds the light. So I have to ask, what use music as a transformative piece rather than a uh, path to the light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah. Thank you for this observation. Yes, we've used very, very minimal music. I think compared to
Yeah,
most films, we have very, very less background score. And we've stuck to one, I really, from the beginning, I wanted like a piano and strings kind of a score for Nia's theme as such, as what we
yeah,
call it. And so we've stuck to that. And when we started it out in the journey, from the first time it appears at a particular moment when it appears, it's very, very sparse and it's kind of cold. The vibe is not warm. And when we come about halfway into the film, or little less than halfway, and the first dance, she dances for the first time to the music track, then it's treading this very kind of um uh very, very, very fine line between being melancholic. It's still
yeah,
melancholic, but it has a bit of tenderness and a bit of hope in it. So that
right.
track, in fact, we have named it Hope. The dance with
Okay,
the dance by the stream. We've named that track Hope. And the last dance, which comes right towards the end, which is the
yeah,
end, of her journey and the end of the film. That track, what my brief to the fantastic music duo who've done music for this, they're called Quan Bay, was to just uh, use the same composition, but fill it
yeah,
out with a lot more instruments and warm it up.
right,
So last track we've named it Heal, and our OST is available on Apple Music, Spotify, and all. And that's basically the same tune, but it's been warmed up and it's been filled out with like a plethora of instruments. And it's the first time
right,
actually that the music really fills the entire space and the entire screen, because
yeah,
she's kind of reached that point of acceptance and finding her inner peace and happiness and the strength to kind of move on.
yeah.
So
I also
that's
have to ask, it did really feel like an orchestral score. Me being inquisitive, did you use any instrument native to Himachal Pradesh on the score? Was it ever
no,
possible?
on this score we didn't. On this score we didn't. We had kind of thought about that once, but then it was kind of, it would have really, I think already we were treading some very fine lines between, what we were trying to convey, and then this was
Yeah,
just, adding to like making it a bit of a hodgepodge. But I'm
Mhm.
quite happy with the local music that has come into the film in the form of a
Yeah,
song sung by the Shepherd by Gangaramji. It's a very, very beautiful ancient Kulavi song which he sung.
right,
It's called O Mamu Ao, and it's I mean English translation is the wise old man of the mountains. And
right,
I think he did a we kept it raw. We just kept his voice and a bit of sound design in within the place, the environment that he sings the song, which is high up on a mountain pass called Hamta. So we've
right.
kept that sound design without any instruments and just the rawness of his voice, which is very, very beautiful. And the other place where the musical instruments where the local music come in is when Nia, Bhimi and Sunny go to visit the shrine of Drupti Devi, and there, because
Yeah,
it's a shrine of a goddess, of a Devi, there is the
yeah,
local instrumentation of the Nagada and the Karnal, which are very, very typical to Himachal, especially typical to the Kullu Valley. And I mean, I
right.
love music so much, so I really wanted to have it in the film.
I'm glad I was able to see all those people. Like watching something from Himachal for me, this is the first time because I've not been able to discover such rich culture being portrayed on the silver screen. And
Yeah, that's
going,
yeah, you're right about that.
and what struck me most about this film was the one part of the film on the surface is Nia's journey through her finding some healing and going into the light. But the other part of this particular film was also humans' relationship with nature.
Of
Uh,
course.
you you find uh, people of all the characters of all ages finding and having some relationship with the environment around them or any part of nature. Uh, why was it important for you to represent humans' relationship with nature on screen, and how did it play out when you were writing that particular aspect of the story?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you again for this observation. It's a very important aspect. I would say the themes of Second Chance are, of course, healing is a theme, one of the primary themes. Another theme that might be the secondary theme is unlikely friendships, because, Nia, being from her class and her generation, uh, and, urbanness, makes friends with these two very, very unlikely strangers, one who is so much
Yeah,
older than her, one is so much younger, and, they come from different worlds. So unlikely friendships is another theme. And the third theme for me is our relationship with Mother Nature. And I was very kind of keen to tell a story about this, or it found its way into my story probably because I feel very strongly about it myself. I feel like, nowadays more and more we take our environment and Mother Nature for
yeah,
granted. And I feel like it's high time we stop doing that. And genuinely, it's, I mean, nature plays a huge role in can play a huge role in healing a broken soul, as it does for Nia,
definitely.
right? And I mean, initially, even before she makes friends with Bhimi and Sunny, she has the long walks which she goes on alone, and that's where she finds her few moments of comfort and solitude, when she's just
Yeah,
curling up in, in by a river, and finding, that moment of peace which she's not found in so many days or so many months or maybe even
yeah,
years. And, even when she's at her loneliest and there's nobody around, there's still an owl somewhere who is talking to her and conversing with her. So somewhere, I mean, I'm from the philosophical, I mean, I'm from the belief that we have to consider our environment very, very carefully, and expand our worldview of just having friends who are from the human race. A rock can be
yeah.
your friend, a river can be your friend, an owl can be your friend.
Definitely. And that was a lovely answer. I think I had some insight into the film from that also. And what I wanted to ask you next was about the characters itself. Every single one of them have their relationships with each other. I'm
Hmm.
talking about Mia and Beanie and Sunny, and
Mhm.
all three of them have their separate relationships and as a group in itself existing together in a very lonely house across in the mountain. So when I was watching this film, I thought there were two perspectives to Bimi herself. One was through the eyes of what Nia perceives Bimi to be, and the other is what I perceive Bimi to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because uh, because for me, Bimi seen that the old mountain was to the test of time, and who has seen the number of situations that have been happening, and she's learned from all that's happened in her life. But for Nia, uh, she's just a caretaker who goes on to be a friend. So was it ever intended to be that way, or was Dini ever an allegory for nature, or did it just happen?
I think it just happened, but in a way they are I think there's a very strong theme of motherhood throughout the film.
Yeah,
Because I mean, Nia is just coming out of, this realization that she maybe had a chance to be a mother that maybe she didn't realize that she wanted, and she doesn't have that anymore. She herself is lacking love from a mother or a father, in fact. That's quite obvious from
yeah,
whatever we see. Uh, Bhimi is, of course, motherly towards Sunny, but she's nursing this guilt of having,
yeah,
had to sacrifice her own child. And surprisingly enough, because Sunny is, I mean, in his words, he thinks he's Superman, but he's also protective like a mother towards
yeah,
uh, Nia, when he feels that somebody might be attacking her or giving her
yeah,
harm. And towards the end, it's almost like Nia being a mother to Bhimi, when she's giving her that gentle push to go and give a second chance to, a companionship or a romance in her later years. So they take turns being each other's mothers. And Mother Nature, of course, is the one that is looming high over all of this, you know,
yeah,
because she is very much present everywhere, and uh, I think it comes as a culmination in the scene of Drupti Devi, because
yeah,
as Bhimi is narrating the story, it's important for it's important for Nia to hear the story at that point to understand that um, the greater divine feminine forces around her which have been existing, which she is kind of a part of, and so is Bhimi in that way. So to answer your question, maybe it was not a original intention, but as the story developed, because motherhood was such a theme and mother nature was one character and Bhimi of course was another character, so at some point both of them do meet along with the feminine divine which is within Nia as well, so
yeah,
that's where they all align in the Drupti Devi scene, right?
yeah. What what I wanted to ask you next was, there is a deep portrayal of grief and trauma in the film, and at some
Mhm.
points it's pretty graphic and on the face. I can say that
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we meet Nia finally experiencing physical pain after a long time of experiencing very emotional pain. We see a particular scene where she's in a bathtub dealing with her own physical pain, and it is. I also think that it was portrayed in a different way from what has been portrayed before, because we've never seen abortions on screen.
Yeah, I
And
mean, not in Indian cinema, we haven't. I mean, I
yeah,
remember there are a couple of films that I watched. Um, what is it? 4 weeks, 3 days. There's that one European film. There's another very, very graphic film called is it Happening? I think The Happening. Sorry, I can't remember the names right
that's
now.
fine.
But you're right. At least I don't, as far as I know, in Indian films, regional or Hindi, whatever, we haven't really seen the portrayal of, say, a terminated pregnancy,
Yeah,
in this manner, right?
yeah. So
Hmm.
why was it important to portray in a very true manner? And you could have not portrayed it, but you chose to. So can you speak to me about those decisions also?
I think it came from the fact that, when we're tackling an issue like a terminated pregnancy, an abortion. And I mean, I began out by wanting to that it's already done and the job is neatly done by a pill, because we're thankfully living in times where we don't have to do where surgery is not really required, surgical intention, you can handle it with a pill. But the thing is, the convenience of that, the so-called convenience of that, is actually not a convenience, because the havoc that that pill wreaks within a woman's system is what I mean is really, really horrible. And it's
yeah,
I mean, it can't be taken very lightly, which it is, in a lot of cases, because it's like, oh, you just pop a
yeah,
pill and it's done. It's not done. And I
yeah,
felt like at this point, a lot of times the pills have after effects and they don't work, or they have belated effects, like what happens in the sensor in the case of Nia. Also, of course, because of the fact that unlike in US and other countries, abortions are fully legal in India. We have a very, very forward abortion law. But because
yeah,
of our hugely patriarchal and, gendered society, it's considered a major taboo. So again, it's something that's not really spoken about. So I felt like a graphic representation of what a woman has to go through, and even just with a pill and what can happen in the aftermath of that pill.
yeah,
It's important for everybody to see and understand that this is not something that can just be brushed under the table or taken very lightly.
yeah.
I felt like that shock was kind of needed.
I understand. And finally, I wanted to ask, what do you want to write about next? Because you were a writer on Angry Indian Goddesses, which was
Yeah.
released in 2015, and now you've tackled about trauma and hope and man's uh, connection with nature. What do you want to write about next? What will your next films be about?
So, at some point earlier in the conversation, you had mentioned that you've not really seen Himachal Pradesh represented in films before. And me being a Himachali, I'm very attached to my roots, and I love my motherland a lot. So I'm very inspired to tell stories from there, because every valley of Himachal has a different culture and different philosophy, different food, different language, different dress, different song, different dance, everything. And it's really, really beautiful, and I do want to tell stories from there, rooted in there. So that is my one of my biggest inspirations. Not that I'm not open to tell stories from cities and other parts of the world also, but it does my I am very committed to telling stories from the inside of Himachal, which will be able to travel to different parts of India and different parts of the world, which I can say Second Chance may have already done. So, in fact, the next thing that I'm writing, I can't tell you much about it, but it handles, it's very, very different from Second Chance. It's set in Himachal again. And
Right.
again, it tackles a very, very unlikely friendship between two women.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I think it tackles the concept of love, and
Okay.
the concept of love beyond defined genders and
Okay.
defined sexualities and orientations.
Right.
And uh, it deals with a lot of themes of femininity and freedom.
Right. That's great to hear, and I hope I really get to see your next films in the theater this time. But Second Chance is now playing in theaters across India. Subadhra Mahajan, thank you for joining me in our conversation. For more videos like these, please like, share, and subscribe to Cinema Space. Thank you.